Welcome to the Dream Architect Life Podcast. I am thrilled today to introduce a really, maybe the most energetic human being I've ever met. She never doesn't have a smile, and she is just so outgoing, and what a pleasure to be around, and so excited to have Miss Randi Brill here today. And I'm going to just give you a little bit of background on Randi, and then I'm going to let her kind of tell her story. And then we're going to get into a great conversation and have a lot of fun today on just all sorts of topics of dreaming big and thinking big, because I don't know of anybody that really thinks bigger than Randi. So thanks for being here, Randi.
My pleasure. I'm having fun already.
All right. Well, Randi's got a company called Just Call Randi, and she is the brand design agency exclusively for ACEs, which stands for advisors, collaborators, and entrepreneurs. And Randi Brill is also known as the brand design specialist. And essentially, what she does is she fixes what's broken and not working for you and wants you to get noticed better. And she's highly, highly creative. I mean, you can't even imagine some of the brand solutions that she comes up with. And everybody that works with her likes to call her the brand doctor. And as the old saying goes, the brand doctor is always in. So, Randi, great to have you here. Thank you for being on the podcast, and excited to have a conversation with you. So maybe if there's other things that you'd like to tell the audience about yourself, let's start maybe with a little bit of your story, and where did things get started and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, people say that to become an entrepreneur, it's not like you wake up Thursday and you say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I had no idea of that long word, but from the time I was 3 years old, I was sort of very entrepreneurial. And the challenge became you're not like everybody else. And you can feel a little bit isolated, but you just don't know. You just know you're different.
Yep.
When I was 9 years old, I always tell a story that, we were shut down by the Better Business Bureau, better known as my mother, because I had fallen and I had broken my left arm, and I'm a lefty, creative, and I'd broken my left arm in about 8 places. I really messed up. I tripped over air, literally. All right, dancing is not my thing, but I ended up with this huge cast. They wanted to keep me in the hospital. My mother was having no part of this because she wasn't allowed to stay. She was certainly not leaving her child there. So off we go with this new 14-pound cast. My dad rigs me up to a piano bench. And the next morning, my brother, who was 6, he goes, everybody wants to know how you are. And it occurred to me, I had a unique value proposition. Nobody else had a cast rigged to a piano bench. And we started charging money. And I charged a nickel. And my brother got a penny. I mean, I thought that was a very good percentage for someone who was 6 and could not read well. And he would bring them up one at a time. And for a nickel, they could see it. And after a while, I did my first upsell, Brian, because what I did was I went, go get mommy's laundry marker, the one we're not allowed to touch. And I started telling them for an extra 15 cents they could sign it. Now, stupidly, I gave an entire group of attendees because I had witness for the prosecution all over my arm. But it was all going well till this little boy named Chrissy pulls on his mother's leg and says, Mommy, I need a quarter. And she happened to be talking to my mother. And she said, what do you need a quarter for? Well, I have to go sign Randi's cast, but don't worry, they give change. And my mother went, excuse me. Came upstairs. Needless to say, we were up to $1.85, Brian. And I had to give everything back. And with a broken arm, writing with my right hand, I had to write an apology note and scotch tape the nickels and dimes to everything. But that was entrepreneurial.
Yes.
I mean, I always was this way. I was 25 years old working in educational publishing, and I wanted more work to do. I was bored. Danger when Randi's bored. But, well, when I'm bored, Brian, you could hand me a pen, a water bottle lid, and a paper clip. And I can't help but invent something, and not always should I. I mean, it's that creative streak. But I went in and I said, I need more work to do. And my boss was like, well, you know what? I don't think we have much, kiddo. And I said, well, I'm going to take my week off. I had 5 pitiful days of vacation. And I take this, I said, maybe you'll think about it and we'll work it out. And I came back a week later and I said, anything? And he goes, nope, kiddo, nothing. So I said, well, then you know what? Instead of asking one company to have so much design and creativity for me, maybe I should go. I think I'm going to go start my own company so I can do a little bit of design for a lot of places. Now, I had no idea that was a conceptual model. It was just Randy thinking. And I resigned. That was at 8:30. And then my mother called that night. She goes, well, did you resign? I said, I resigned at 8:30. I resigned at 9:45. I resigned at 11:30 again. And at 1:30, they offered me my boss's job. And I remember, Brian, I was making $17,000 a year. And they offered me $42,000 stock options, a secretary, and a car. That's 25. And my mother said, oh, honey, that's amazing. Your father doesn't make that. I don't know very many entrepreneurs, very many people 25 years old who would be offered something like this. And I know one idiot who's turned it down. And I said, Ma, I had to. These people, think about it though, Brian. They didn't come into work that day. And I love that company. And we did a lot of work for them. And we had a wondrous relationship after that. And they were entrepreneurial. But they didn't go into work that day saying, we need Randy. They were reactionary. And if they could react that much to a junior level designer resigning 3 times, they would be that impulsive going forward. And besides, I said to my mother, look, and this was the biggest number I could think of. If they think I'm worth 42,000, I must be worth 90. It was the biggest number I could think of. And a year later, that was in August. And from August to December, we invoiced $90,000. And then we jumped to 300. And I remember saying to a partner, I'm going to bill $1 million by the time I'm 30, and I'm going to buy a house by the time I'm 28. And it didn't work out that way because I earned the million by the time I was 28, and I didn't have time to buy the house. So it's just always been in my bones to work creatively to add value to people. The problem was I was in educational publishing, and that was the field I knew. And when you are creative or when you are an entrepreneur, I mean, there are wealth advisors, there are entrepreneurs that inherit a legacy company. We entrepreneuriate, or whatever you want to call us as a verb, in whatever landscape we're given. We can't help ourselves. So what happens is sometimes we're doing it in the wrong space. And did you ever read Atlas Shrugged?
I never completed the whole book, but
All
I
right, you've read
read most
enough
of
to
it.
know Dagny Taggart. I was the fool who thought I could stay so long that I could fix it instead of realizing, wait, I could be doing what I'm doing differently. Now, I'm in Genius Network and I love it. I'm in Strategic Coach and I love it. And those masterminds, I think, are so vitally important, just like EWAS is. It's important to be part of a group of people. Like, do people like us do things like this, Seth Godin? Okay. I it's isolating, as I said before. And when you are part of that, you can stretch your dream. You can stretch the possibility. And what I realized is I was trying to stretch something that had no end, that was just a wall. And it took me a decade to morph from educational publishing. And I had a big company. I had 120 creative people. And I'm
Mm.
going to tell you, 120 creative people is like 600 normal people because they all have split personalities, including their boss. They used to have this was before there was instant messaging and everything. And they used to email each other, high heels on alert, Coinker coming on 6. I mean, it was ridiculous because they would spot me. But the reality was it was this massive thing. I had a building, I had a mortgage, I had payroll. I had creative people with very specific subject matter expertise. You cannot put a calculus editor on kindergarten reading. There's no versatility there. So I was running after my business instead of running it. But it took me a long time because I think one of the powerful things is when you're a big dreamer, and I don't care if you're a dream architect, I don't care if you're an advisor, you're a leader, you're sitting in the big chair. And there's a responsibility that I think we all hold very close, which is these people signed on to my star. They are counting on me. So you don't get the luxury of saying, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't fun. I'm going to take my crayons. I'm going away. Have a good day. It's not fair. You don't get that. So it took me a decade. I built a product company because all I had was inventory going down the elevator every night of creative people. So then I got this whole exciting thing of if I make this pen one time and I could sell it 1,000 times, isn't that a wonderful way to generate revenue? Well, it is, except it isn't. I learned that one the hard way. They need vendors. They didn't need me as a vendor. They needed vendors, plural. You learn this stuff always the hard way. And I think as entrepreneurs, we look at all the other ones, we look at all the other wealth advisors, and we think they're nailing it. They have a kerchief in their pocket, Brian. They think they're nailing it. And I'm going to tell you something, they're not. Everybody operates from an internal, that little 9-year-old who got shut down in business. We have our littlest insecurity that is more powerful than our biggest public confidence. And I think that's the discord. That's how I got to working with ACEs. It finally dawned on me, like Helen Keller, I get to choose. Once I took care of everybody, once I sold the building, once I divested myself of the product company, I was like, Randi and index cards, what do you want to build, Gracie? What's next? So I think that's the scary part. And fear is a humongous driver for all of us, I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Uh,
that's my story. That's how I ended up.
yeah. First of all, I learned some things. I thought I knew a lot about you, but I learned some new things today. So thank you for sharing that. But
Sure.
there's probably three questions that you alluded to in that story that I'd like to dig a little deeper in. So
Sure.
first of all, you talked about, excuse me, dreaming big. And obviously, this podcast is about how to think different, how to think bigger, how to dream bigger, how to make, the only life that you get the most fantastic it can be. So I
Right.
just love your definition of what does dreaming bigger actually mean to you?
That's an easy one. I know that answer. I love when you ask me a question and I know the answer. Here's it's the thing that's so funny is we all have that answer. Some of us just don't dare to articulate it to ourselves. Look, I just said to you, I had 120 people. I was defined as the lady in the purple chair. I sat in the big seat. It's really hard to re-identify yourself
Mhm.
as who you are, Randi Brill, creative, value adder, whatever you want to call it. And I kept narrowing, 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 narrowing. So now I have this lean team, and I call my staff size 10 to 10x. That's it, baby. No more than 10 people to get us to 10x. And it better be the right 10. And when you have a company that you're going to just call Randi, that is a very unique ability team because you can love my team and they are amazing, but you don't want to call Seymour. You want to just call Randi. You want to get to Randi and then feel safe enough that whoever I bring into that mix. So the key to the dream was originally the millions and the $8 million projects and the what. I'm not doing that now. How do you redefine what big is and what that big dream is? And I figured it out. I am only creating with and for big dreamers. So What happens for just we work in two ways. You can come and work with us on a fast fix project, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to a trade show. I need stuff, Randy, help, help, help. And we do it. And after you do three of those, if there's a good fit, we invite you, you go to our deep dive, you go to a retainer. We work for a long time. But the key is, as entrepreneurs, you may do, as an advisor, you may do $25,000 worth of work with us. Okay, if I have 500 aces and each of those aces does a certain amount of work on their brand, on their identity, on their messaging, on what sets them apart, if they get their story straight in a way that we can help you articulate visually so that people are going to get it without you, the leader, having to be the guy or the gal delivering that elevator pitch every time. How does your stuff tell your story for you? What I realized is we're never going to be that big. I don't want it anymore. But our big dream is your big dream. If you can invest with us in your brand and we can help you sharpen that, and then you can 10x that for you. I do that with 500 entrepreneurs in a 5-year period. Look at the exponential value in the billions that goes out into this world.
Yeah.
That's the big dream for me. We're the catalyst, we're the spark, and that's the fuel for me. So does that answer that big dream question?
Yeah, no, I love that.
Hey, Brittany here. In case you hadn't heard, our latest book, Dream Architecture, is available for the taking. Think about it like this. What is your biggest, wildest dream of what retirement could look like? Not the dream that your friends have, or your parents maybe had, or your coworkers. Your best dream, the unreasonable one, the one that you might have trouble admitting even to yourself. So that is what the Dream Architecture book is about. Hop on over to dreamarchitecturebook.com so you can start dreaming big today.
One of the things you also alluded to earlier was, and everybody's got a journey of some type. So thank you for sharing yours. And there's always twists and turns, and 2 steps forward and 5 back. And one of the things that I have noticed, though, is that there's a little difference between those that seem to have great success and those that maybe stumble more often. And a lot of it has to do with how they handle fear. And you had alluded to fear in your earlier discussion. And for the benefit of our audience, I think what would be helpful is maybe give us a time when you strategically overcame some kind of fear, or you didn't let it stop your momentum as you learned, I'm going to work with aces. Maybe give us a time where you oh, I had this fear, but I'm going through it. Because I think if we can encourage enough people to, just know they can do whatever they set their mind to, and then give them examples of people that, have done it, just more likely that, people will keep pushing forward.
Well, a lot of stories come to mind, but 3 in particular. One early, which was I had sold my first $1 million project. I was thrilled. We were in this tiny little office space. We were bulging at the seams, and we were about to sign a lease. Well, I was, and guarantee it. I mean, of course, I didn't, no one told me that maybe you don't have to guarantee everything personally, but I missed that memo in the beginning. So I just, I'm writing my name on everything. It'll be fine. Because in the beginning, we always think we can earn it again. We are that young, invincible, ridiculously, blindly confident till we fall, which happens. I mean, I have 3 F words. One is fear, one is fail, and one is fall. I have others, but I won't share them on this podcast. But the key is that day that I had to go and sign my name to this 13,600 square foot fancy office complex that we were the first tenant in, had a whole floor. I mean, this was massive. And 5 minutes before I left the office, they canceled the program in Texas. So $1 million job was gone. And I'm standing there with my pen to go sign a 5-year lease. And you stand there and my finance person said, well, let me see if I can call and get, I said, no, stop. This is one thing. This is another thing. And sometimes the fear is it's like, you know what? Well, we're not staying here. Now, maybe that would be very responsible, but this is going to help us get the next $1 million job. You have to be able to pivot it and flip it. So that would be the first one. The second one was when you can't trust your own gut. That's a really big fear. I have been accused, and perhaps rightly so, of being loyal to a fault. You're on my team. You've delivered. I'm going to take care of you, and I'm going to give you every shot in the universe. But sometimes I stay too long at the fair. And in one case, this happened, and I ended up getting sued. Had no basis for a lawsuit. Another thing I learned, being right doesn't always matter. And I ended up writing the check. And Dan Sullivan was a big help to me, because what he said to me, he told me two very valuable things. He said, number one, write the check, call it tuition, you're done. And number two, there is no way you're going to grow this business until you're free. That's another F word, freedom. Fear is on one side, your freedom is on the other. There's a gap in the middle. How high can you jump? So those would be a couple of them. And more recently, it is reframing your identity. I'm having the time of my life working with people who get this, but that took some real guts to say, I'm going to leave an industry where my reputation preceded me, where people would literally, how do you think I named the company? Oh, just call Randi. She'll know what to do. That happened for 30 years. I was 7 when I began, don't you know? But no, I'm really serious. It's fear can be debilitating, or fear can be go anyway. If you're at the front of the line, you stop, everyone behind you stops. So okay, I'm scared. Let's go anyway. Let's find out. And then here's the other thing, you just often unlocks it for me. I'll say, all right, well, I know what this is. What's the worst thing that could happen? And, half the time my worst is usually much worse than anything that really would happen. And, this will sound silly. When I thought I was going to be a great mom, because I had all this experience working with people. And when I married my husband, he showed up at our marriage with 2 boys, a nanny, an ex-wife, a dog, and a minivan. And I had a purse and a business and a lot of shoes. And but the reality was, I was worried, how am I going to be a good mom? Oh, it's okay, Randi. You know what you're doing. The reality is, being a mom helped me figure out so many business things. And when you stop and you think about, what are your priorities? What do you really need to take care of? That's the leap. My mom always used to say, when my kids are having a good day, nothing else matters. The perspective of what you think is a problem versus what is really a problem. When your family is healthy, when you have the ability to make choices, those are good days.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I find that fascinating, because you said, fear, and then you mentioned failure, and then the other side of that is freedom. And I think that is just a gold nugget for everybody to remember, because if you overcome fear and you overcome failure, that is truly what happens. And one of the perspectives that I try to live myself and share with others is, you're either winning or you're learning,
That's
and
right.
you never fail. You just learn something you didn't know before, and it makes you better down the road. And you've already mentioned several things which some people might call failures. I would call them, the learning blocks that got you successful. So any other comments on like how failure actually shaped
I'm
you
going to tell
or
you something
helped
that
you?
here's what I didn't interrupt you, but here's what I was going to say about that. It takes work to turn failure into learning. Okay,
True.
I think, at least for me, I mean, I have to go to the ice cream department first. I have to really wallow in my caramel delight low fat till I can turn around and say,
Well, no, that it makes it go faster when you go to
it
the ice cream
absolutely,
shop. Yes,
ice
yes,
cream first. It solves so many things. But the key is we feel so responsible.
yes.
And remember, when I think I messed it up, the reason I own that is because I think it's my power to fix it. And that's where it can get bumpy because it's not always, I shock you, Randy, but it's not always about you. I mean, sometimes there are reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with your business, with your goals, with your life that can impact you and show up. And, I get to well, that didn't work as planned. And sometimes for me, what gets me through it, and I know this will shock you, is humor. I have to be somewhat entertained by it. I mean, I was going to Genius to do my 10-minute talk. I was all ready to go. And three humongously stupid, annoying things that could have knocked the wind out of my sail between 12:47 the day before and 10 minutes before I walked up on that podium. And I was like, well, I could either be really upset with this or I could go have a hell of a good time and fix this. That's your inner confidence. And, fear, do you know that little Mucinex commercial where the little buggy guy is trying to eat at you?
Yep.
Fear tries to erode your confidence. And there's a constant tug of war. I think with strong leaders, our confidence overcomes our fear, or we at least let them coexist well together. When I have fear, my confidence can go up. Did you ever think about that? Because you're seeing the possibilities, you're being objective, you're not being totally impulsive. I have a long green in Colby land, but my green is only an 8. People think I'm 11 and I'm bleeding off the board, but I'm not because I have enough fact finder and enough follow through. I can never work the copier. Do not even ask me. But I have enough of all three of those to dig deeply enough to feel confident enough to make the best choice of the options in front of me. Now, what I've also learned is maybe those 7 options aren't all that there are. Maybe a piece of this and a piece of this. And that's where creativity comes in. Creativity is not just crayons. It's creative problem solving. It's creative strategy. It's creatively, people say to me, how do you do this? How do you see this out of my business? Bottom line is it's not my business. It's your business. You can't see it because you're in it. I can see it because I'm watching what you're doing in it.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to.
I heard an interesting saying one time. You can't read the label of the jar when you're
You
in.
got it. Gary Motter said, there's my guy. But
Yeah.
the point is, you feel like, oh my God, how did I not see that? You're in it. Of course, you don't see that. But you turn around and somebody can be a lens and a filter for you and put possibility in front of you. No one is ever going to know your business as well as you do, nor should they. But you've got to have a North Star. And sometimes, even if, what is it they say? If you dream really, really big, even if you fall short, you're still doing really, really well. It's the gap in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's for sure. And the other thing that I have found, with people that seem to have success a lot is what I'd call value alignment. And I think it applies both personally and professionally. And I don't know if you have any viewpoints or how you would define value alignment yourself, but I'd be curious on, what role you think values have in, reaching your possibilities.
Well, I think there are two pieces to that, singular and plural. I think you must have core values, which is your compass, which is your guide. I also think at every turn you must be adding value. And for me, I mean, we spend our days figuring out how we can add value to the point where, we will show you. I mean, branding is murky to people. They don't understand it. Well, what do you do? Is this my logo or my web? They don't get it. And I can't just show samples anymore. I mean, I see behind you, you still have my grand gestures box behind you.
I
But
do.
that was a collection of samples because those were the things people recognized. Now, we don't even show those samples. And I'll tell you why. Because whatever I show you isn't about you. You are the guide to tell me what you want to work on. And that's where our ability to take all of those experiences adds value. But my values, my core values, one of the primary ones is adding value and giving something everywhere I go and helping people who are ready for that next step. I mean, we're always going to work with people who, it took me a long time to get here, but we're always going to work with the people who engage us, engage with us, and then write the check for it. I am done being in a big industry where these people love us, but these people pay us. Those were my Dagny Taggart years. It's not happening anymore. But
Yeah.
I think values alignment, if you're not in sync with your own core values, what are you doing? I mean, it can't be fun. It can't feel right.
No.
And I
Yeah.
think sometimes we get used to not feeling right.
Well, I will just give you a quick compliment about somebody that delivers value. Boy, you are one that probably takes that to another level compared to most people. So kudos to you. And Joe Polish, who is, these guys got the saying, life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. And, when you really think back, the more you give, the more you get. And so I think that's a great.
Well, Joe and I were together when we both had long hair. We met in our very first strategic, we were in strategic coach together a while ago. But that is so true. And if you don't put your value out there first, help somebody. It's not give to get, it's give to give.
Yeah.
That's a core value. Not everybody has it, mind you, but you can spot the givers everywhere you are.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, that's they're always enjoyable to be around too for whatever reason. So
that's because they're taking care of you.
Yeah, that's the most important person, at least in your mind, is you. So,
well, if somebody listens to you, Brian, and asks you a question like you've been doing with me today in this segment, we feel heard. And if somebody, I always say I'm like a brand design therapist. You've got to tell me in secret what's working, what's not working, what's stressing you, what feels broken. And yes, your uncle's girlfriend's son did your logo, but you know what? I love you. They stole it from Google, honey. That's not going to be protectable. But people have to be honest. Now, if you're not honest in brand design, we are going to give you the most remarkable, gorgeous, wrong solution ever. It's true.
Not helpful.
Well, because visually we can display everything that's broken because we have to. We can also put those pieces together with you. So I think that knowing your core values, knowing what drives you as an individual, when that's in sync, oh, you've got a lot of fuel to go on.
Well, let me ask one quick question, and I'm just amazed how fast the time goes when you're having a great conversation. But so what's maybe one of your big or most important dreams or aspirations for your future?
Well, I'd say it's very easy. I got to keep doing what I'm doing. And if I weren't doing this, I would be doing all of this in a volunteer way. And I know this will shock you. I don't do committee very well. It's just not a Randy thing. We always joke, my husband will say to me, "You're going to work forever." Yeah, darling, I am. Because when you love what you do,
Not work.
it's not work. And I wish that for people. I wish people would love what I can always tell when I'm talking to somebody. I can always tell if they are passionate about what they're doing, passionate about who they're helping. If I can't chase who they're adding value to, it's like I don't see the alignment. So I think what I would just say is the biggest dreams, whatever dream you have, add 20%. That's what I do to every clothing budget. I think it should work for dreams as well.
I think that's a great solution. Yes.
My husband still doesn't know what our wedding costs. I think that's just fine. I tell him it was nice. Yeah.
Oh, you're awesome.
For you.
So, first of all, if somebody wanted to learn more about, what you're doing and, gee, how could you help their brand? What's the best way to get a hold of Just Ask Randy or just
Well,
call
first
Randy?
of all, it's just call Randy.
Just call Randy. Yeah, I got
It's
that
just
right.
callrandy.com.
Okay.
Go to just call Randy, but it's Randy with an I. Justcallrandy.com. You can go to the website. You can see the process. You can see a gazillion samples so that it helps you figure that out. You can go see some videos and there's some fun stuff on there. And it's broken up kind of logically, so you can see it. You can see some testimonials, some of my books, those kinds of things, so that they can really check us out before they call. Because I think people like a safe way to kick the tires.
Yeah. And we were talking about this earlier, but the one thing about you, Randy, that I think would never change and what makes you, so adorable or fun to be around or work with is you really do, keep the term ELF, easy, lucrative, and especially capital F with fun.
That's another F word. That's another.
Yes. Yeah. But fun and freedom. There you go.
No,
So
and you know
I
what?
think,
You have to enjoy it.
yep.
If you don't, first of all, it's not authentic. Look, we're not for everybody, Brian. If you're not ready to laugh at this and look at this and say, where does this fit in the universe? Branding is wonderful. It is not Nobel Prize worthy. We're helping you accomplish something, but we are not, inventing a new universe here. We're helping you strengthen your universe.
Well, Randy, I unfortunately the end of the show is coming here, but I do have one other question, and I'll kind of let you choose which direction you'd like to go. So either is there one piece of advice that you'd like to give our listeners, or was there something that I didn't ask you that I should have?
Oh, that's easy. Trust your gut. The more you trust your gut, the stronger that gut becomes. And what you have to look back on is remember the times you should have and you didn't. If you're ever unsure if you should trust that gut of yours, think back to a time you didn't do it. It'll get you there right away. And jump anyway. It's better than standing still.
Yeah. I don't think I could think of any better advice or words to end the podcast today than that. So true. And I can think back of times I didn't trust my gut and I was wrong and should have. So thank you for,
Always remember those. You always remember those.
yeah, you
Your
do.
learning moments, remember? That's your
Yes, yes. It was certainly about learning. Yes. Well,
and
Randy,
ice
I'm
cream.
thrilled to have you here today, and your energy is just contagious. And thank you for doing everything that you do and being such a guiding light for so many people. And just love that I get to spend time with you and go to different events together. And thank you for being who you are and what you do. And thanks for being on the podcast today.
My pleasure. And I'm always here for you.
All right. Take care. And we'll see everybody on the next episode of The Dream Architect Life. Have a great day.